Shut up and sit down.
How to play Tonk.
Have you guys gotten the new Tonk hat on Roblox?
Better. On my bicycle, I go too fast. Little shops that I ride past, the people's faces, they make me laugh.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen of the internet? How are you guys doing? Today happens to be my birthday, and just like in years past, I typically post a small video.
Can anybody see me?
You are listening to the Dialed Podcast with birthday boy Matt LeGrand, Evan Price, Lance Hepler, and Jake Von During. Enjoy episode 110.
I am taken to a forest path where I trample autumn leaves and
So if you're subscribed to the channel, thank you very much.
root beer from my backpack. My shoes are worn, my helmet's loose. I packed a sandwich and some juice.
All the way from
Camas, Washington.
please welcome Prince of Pop, Matt LeGrand.
What's up, Matt? Matt LeGrand, welcome to the show, bro.
139, what's up?
Hi, and welcome back to the Dial Podcast. I am Jake Von Duren, and today I'm here with Lance Hepler.
Lance Romance coming at you over Skype.
Skyping it in.
I'm Skyping it in.
A little social distancing there, huh?
We're back to
Yes.
Lance Romance. No Lance No Pants or Lance. I don't even remember what was last week.
It was
Lance
it was Lance Mustache.
Lance
But after-
Mustache.
But after watching the Tiger King series, I don't think I should associate myself with any type of mustache anymore.
Did you really watch that series, Lance?
Yes.
Matt, have you seen it yet?
No, I haven't seen it, but I know it looks good.
You have to see it, Matt. You have to.
It's just train wreck after train wreck. I am just amazed that there's people like this out there, and it should ring true with you from being from the South.
So once,
Oh yeah, I'm sure half my family's on the show.
Probably. I caught a LeGrand or two in the background of a couple of the scenes, I think.
So once all the social distancing stuff and the isolation stuff is lifted, will we still see you wearing that? Well, what do you want to call that mustache? the Tiger King?
No,
The
I
Joe
call it
Exotic
the
mustache.
of Hope. I think Mustache of Hope sounds better.
Oh,
So-
jeez.
That does sound nice.
Mustache of Hope. I'm just going to call it your exotic mustache from now on.
Exotic tiger mustache.
All right, digitally.
I still have it. I just don't feel good about it anymore.
Okay, there, Tiger King. All right, to his digital right, Mr. Evan Price.
In person, actually, in the clinic here with Jake, to his right, also to Matt's left. And what are we drinking in here? We got like a vitamin water and coffees. Nobody's got anything interesting here drinking.
I got a jug of water. I already polished off my coffee.
I know,
so.
yeah. He already finished his coffee. Lance and Matt, what are you drinking right now?
I'm drinking a LaCroix, a blackberry
Nice.
cucumber LaCroix, which is French for the Croix. So that's what I'm drinking.
Troy.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just finished off like a homemade smoothie thing. It's pretty good.
Oh, wow. Very
I know,
nice.
right? That's taking it up a level.
Uh-huh. As our listeners know, we have dropped our Kirkland sponsorship, so Lance will be drinking LaCroix from now on, as we are working on a LaCroix sponsorship.
Yes, sir.
Well, if you're gonna build that to France, I assume
I assume we're going to bill it to the Croix, so.
all French people will pay for this.
All right, and last but not least, the birthday boy, Mr. Matt LeGrand.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen of the internet? You guys look quarantined. You look quarantined.
You look scraggly. You look a little scraggly.
Me and Matt can't see anybody.
Yeah.
It's sad.
The quarantine looks good on you, Lance.
Thank you.
Maybe we should
You
switch
would-
this over to
I
a video
had,
Skype so you guys can
I know,
make eyes
yeah.
at each other.
Yeah, for everybody listening, we really
video.
can't look at each other. So Matt could have a beard again for all I know. I'm not sure. Matt, do you have a beard?
Yes.
Okay.
It's
Is
it's
it
like
good
a
or bad?
beard, but it blends all the way into my pubic hair.
Gotcha.
So,
Jeez.
it's just one big it's a big rug kind of situation.
So Matt
We
Matt
need
does
to check your testosterone levels.
Matt does grow a pretty good beard too, doesn't he? Matt, you kind of get the neck beard going too, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yep. A little bit less trimmed than Lance's.
There's going to be some photos released of me, I think,
God.
on Tuesday. On the day that this podcast comes out, I will remind you guys about those photos, but they are what we would call revealing. They're coming. We'll follow back on this on the next podcast, but be able to see how much hair there is.
Good Lord.
That's right down my alley, Matt. You're stealing my thunder.
Yeah.
I assume we already had a sneak peek of this, right, Matt? Is this the?
You guys got a sneak peek.
Okay, good.
This is gonna, I think, be sent out to multiple people.
Oh, gotcha.
Sometime along the same time frame as when this podcast comes out.
Just
so
for product control. Yeah.
We'll allude to it now, and then next podcast we can talk about it again.
Sweet.
I'm excited.
Funny.
Let's do some backpedaling. Evan, since you're sitting here with me, backpedal for us.
Oh, God. Well, I'll tell you what. It was a super exciting last week. Funniest part of this last week. So Cassie's going to get a little call out here. We needed to cut my hair this last week. As I'm sure
Lord.
many of you are going through. I'm really trying to reach out and connect with all the listeners here. All men out there that need... I have never been somebody who's gone and gotten haircuts until the last year or two. And now my hair had gotten long, and it was going to be tough to cut. I have very, very, very thick hair. And I thought my clippers would be able to handle the situation. I was sadly mistaken. So
Did you try to do it yourself?
Oh, it was bad.
That's hilarious.
Cassie helped, and Cassie, if you're listening to this, it's like a solid C minus, C minus. We're just gonna put it as C minus. There's a couple sections that I did where I took a couple chunks out because I was trying to do it myself a little bit. Jake's trying to not look at me with like too much of a cackle right now. There are some chunks missing. Like on the right side, there's a chunk that's like highly noticeable missing.
Did you use clippers or just go get like a set of garden shears or something like that?
We used clippers for a while, and then the clippers started to fail, so we had to go to scissors. Cassie really saved the day with at least getting most of it done through scissors. But now that it's short, we're going to have to go back in there with the clippers and try and just buzz it all off because it is... I decided to keep it today for just solidarity with patients who come in who maybe also had poor haircuts over last week, just to see, if it can be a funny talking point. But
with all due respect to cancer patients,
he's
got
looks like
chunks
that.
Missing from the side of his head.
I know it's bad. It is not good.
He looks like he's going through some chemo, boys.
Yeah. This is very, very rough. But is anybody else on this call going to have to cut their own hair here coming up? Because I can promise you it's not fun.
My wife has been cutting my hair for 10 years.
Oh, my God.
I taught her how to do it.
I should have just texted Jake.
And, my wife and I, she does most of it now just because it's easy for her. But it started when my son was born. We took him out to get a kid's haircut, and I think they charged something like $25 just for a kid's haircut. I'm like, wait, what? He sat in your chair for 10 minutes. You hardly did anything. Charged $25. I'm like, I'm just going to do this myself. So went to Costco, bought a set of clippers, gave him his next haircut, and I'm like, you know what? Beck, why don't you just cut my hair too? And I kind of walked her through the premise, and she kind of gets it. I mean, you just pay attention. It's really not that hard. Yeah. So, I mean, it might not look perfect every single time, but it's highly serviceable.
Yeah, I was into cutting my own hair until I went to one really, really good haircutter out here over at Barber's, the Barber's place.
Sure.
And she's awesome. So I was like, okay, she's good. And they don't charge too much there, which was great, but. Obviously, them being closed down right now, I'm planning on going back once this is done because me and Cassie as a team did not come up with a good result. But, yeah.
Barber talk.
Yeah. Outside of that, I rode my bike for a while. I decided out of the blue, don't anybody do this with your training. I decided halfway through a workout that I was going to extend that workout like by a lot. So originally on Saturday, I was going to do like a 3.5 hour, what I consider like my race prep workout for the half iron distance. And I got through the workout and was still feeling great and was like, I'm just going to extend this and see what my bike leg time would be for like a virtual Ironman, basically. And just went all the way through that. And then ran after, feeling great. Later that night, felt absolutely trashed. And then tried to run 20 on the treadmill yesterday and made it through, but it was not pretty. So to all of you out there getting antsy, don't overtrain. It's not worth it.
So you did 112 on the bike?
Did 447 for an Ironman. simulation, yeah, which was pretty close to the same amount of climbing that like Canada's course would be. It was like 5,000, 6,000 feet, something like that.
Wow, that's good.
It was like it was like what would have been just right at 240 watts for the average, which is almost right on the goal for the iron distance. So
okay,
cool.
Yeah.
How did it feel? Did your legs feel?
I felt fine right after and jumped out and
afterwards.
ran 640 like it felt easy. But the next day, obviously. Yeah.
Trashed. That's okay.
Well, yeah, and I mean, still made it a 20-mile run the next day, but yeah, that 20-mile run did not feel comfortable by any means. So yeah, that was basically my virtual training weekend, which basically means it didn't happen. I think if it's virtual, that means it actually didn't happen. So none of that actually
counts against you.
None of it counts. Yeah, I did negative 112 miles.
Negative 112. Yeah.
Lance, how about you?
Let's see. I have not left my house for 7 days, so
no rides outside, huh?
I rode outside after we recorded the podcast last week, and that's the last time I rode outside.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So, that was 7 days ago. I don't know. I'm just trying to kind of take this seriously, not getting out of the house, not exposing myself to other people, trying to be, smart about it. And I'm sure, like the rest of you out there, I am going freaking nuts.
Yeah.
It's been absolutely very difficult. I have put, 11 hours in on the trainer this week and done some pretty solid workouts, which I feel pretty good about. And so, I mean, I've just ridden inside on the trainer all week, which I don't think there's a time in my entire life that I've ridden that many times in a row without actually going outside. We haven't really been shut down here in the Northwest as far as riding outside. And a lot of people are still riding outside if you're going just with yourself or with your house partner or somebody who's living with you. And so there is some riding still happening outside, but our weather hasn't been that great. And I've just decided to kind of stay in. And
there's a certain element, at least for me, that kind of gets me a little bit worried. Like anything could happen at any point in time. And I'm a perfect example of that. You don't know if you're going to get hit by a car or a front wheel's going to wash out or, something unfortunate is going to happen. You don't want to find yourself in the hospital at this point in time because they're going to have a hard time taking care of you.
Yes.
So I'm pretty worried about taking a bed from somebody that might need it more. And it's happening. I mean, people here where we live are dying.
Oh, and I saw that there was referencing a good friend. I'm not sure, Matt, have you been reading Nate's posts?
Yeah.
So just for some reference, and anybody looking at this, he has one post that has been shared over 1,000 times because he's just eloquent, informative, and just an all-around absolutely awesome human being. But Nate Ansbaugh is a ICU doctor friend of ours who lives now in Bend, but was up in this area for a while as well. And he has been posting some pretty detailed just events of what's happening to him in his hospital and just giving kind of an on-the-ground point of view. They're very long posts, but they're worth the read. All of us are on social media a lot, I think, recently, and if you're going to read something that's informative and gives you a good perspective of what's happening, I think Nate's posts are great. But he was kind of talking about that same aspect. Did you get through this last one, Matt? The one you just posted
I haven't
recently?
finished it. I think I just read like the first paragraph or something like that. So I didn't see the part about like don't take up ICU beds or whatever.
Yeah, well, he was just mentioning how there's they're still getting car accidents, drug overdoses, things like that. People coming with chest pain, which is all normal. But I think when you're talking about the car accidents and bike accidents, obviously, if you're out and about less, those should be going down. So, yeah.
Yeah, my middle kid wiped out on the bike this morning, and it was just all of us were just like, and he busted his face. I mean, we're all of a sudden just thinking like, okay, do we need to go to the emergency room? Like, did he break an arm? Like all this stuff, and you don't want to go anywhere if you can help it.
Is he okay?
Right.
Yeah, he's going to have a swollen lip, but he's fine. I mean, we're going to keep an eye on his teeth to make sure that he doesn't need to do an emergency dentist, in which case, Lance, you're up.
I can make a house call for that.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right on.
Bring him to an undisclosed location.
Anything else, Lance?
No, I'm going crazy with the rest of everybody and trying to be safe about it. So
there you go.
That's all.
Cool. How about you, Matt? Anything happen yesterday, this past week?
Birthday. Yep. I did a 41-mile indoor bike ride.
Yeah,
the plan was to do it. Yeah. The plan was to do it on the rollers because I actually just miss riding my rollers and I like it. But when I got everything set up, I had to switch the pedals out to put the power meter on the road bike because my power meters were originally on my TT bike, which fell apart on me. You guys have heard that story too many times. But then, so I had everything set up and I was like, I knew that I needed to run Zwift on my computer to have the Amp Plus communicate with my computer. And Zwift kept crashing on my computer. So I'm not sure what's going on. I didn't look into the crash report or anything like that, but I couldn't get it going. And so I switched everything back over to the Smart Trainer, which is, it's ridiculous that I have all these options. It's so nice. But that with the iPad worked fine and did a 41 miler. I am out of shape, man. I am in a bad place right now. I felt fine for 25 miles or so. And then I was like, oh, this is going to be one of those rides where, you just struggle. And, I didn't take any calories in. So maybe it's one of those things where I just bonked but whatever. I was happy that I was able to get 41 miles in. I typically would go run some and swim some also. Didn't do any of that stuff because I have been having some Achilles issues. Earlier this week, I actually took my cycling shoes and chopped the back heel off of the foot, off the 1 foot that was bothering me, which is super weird, but it did help. It's kind of like a bursa issue. So I'll be hitting up Evan for that. So Lance for my dental work, and Evan's going to have to help me with cutting shoes.
We really need this quarantine to end, or Matt's going to cut the back off of all of his shoes, and his kids are going to have no teeth. So we need this to end soon.
Yeah, but birthday was excellent. I snuck a video out. Those are always tricky because birthdays are super busy because everyone, people want to do stuff with you, and even though we're stuck at home in quarantine, it was still busy. We did a ton of family stuff, but I'm trying to do a video each birthday. And so, they have to be kind of rushed. And I was pretty pumped to be able to sneak it out yesterday. So
how were your bagels?
How are my what?
Your bagels.
They were so stupendous. Some of the best I've ever had.
Yeah. Grade A. Just absolutely cannot beat bagels.
Did you make some homemade bagels?
No, but my middle kid was able to prepare a bagel for me.
Oh wow!
Which is the only thing that he can cook. And by cook I mean he cuts the bagels sort of.
A little Agassi on your hands there, huh?
He puts the butter on basically after.
It spreads the
Wait,
butter.
how old is he?
7. So
he's 7.
Yeah.
That's pretty solid. I don't know. I have no idea what I was cooking when I was 7, but I don't think I was putting together bagels. So
yeah.
Probably cereal. Cereal was about the end of my cooking
cereal.
ability.
Yeah, he can pour his own milk.
That's pretty good.
We're accident prone for sure, but that's okay.
That's fine. Takes a little time to clean it up.
Yep.
Awesome. Cool. I'll run through mine real quick and then we'll move on. This past week, just like everybody else, was just a bunch of digital stuff. It was bunch of Zwift rides, and that's about it. So
how many did you get in? 8 or 9 hours, or
this past week sucked.
Yeah.
So basically, I generally take Mondays off. That's been classically my rest day, and it's always the busiest day of the week for work stuff. So I've just always taken off, and that just works well for me. So I took that off. Tuesday had all eyes set on getting started on my normal trainer rides. We even do our normal team ride, and I was going to do a team ride, but it was Monday at some point in time we got notification from our international students, her organization that has her sent out here, that all students from Spain were being sent home, and she, being from Spain, had to abide by that. So she was due to be here for another 3 months. We had all kinds of stuff planned. She was finishing the senior year over at the high school, and she was, before all this stuff shut down, she was coming into the best part of the year. She had, we're supposed to be on spring break right now. We're supposed to be in Hawaii. We're supposed to be, sitting on the beaches and going for bike rides and doing all that stuff. So all that's out the window. She's missing her, the prom. She's missing the graduation, and all of the fun times that come this time of year, plus the weather generally this time of year becomes spectacular here. And she was basically denied all of that. So we tried to fight and plead and make it so she could stay, because she had a unique situation in that at home, her mom and her sister, mom's a single mom, supporting the kids. Her mom's an ER doc, and all of her time has been allocated now to treating patients, because if you haven't been paying attention, things in Spain are pretty dire right now. I believe it was just 2 days ago that their death toll for a 4-hour time period was 832. That's a lot considering the size of that country. So her mom has been working a lot in the hospitals, and her sister has been staying with her grandparents, which is not ideal. So we were trying to compel the government, we were trying to compel the agency to let her stay, but we got absolutely zero response from anybody. Her mom was even trying to get on the phone with people to, again, compel them to let her stay here, and she was just getting canned responses like, nope, there's nothing we can do, she's to come home. And so on Tuesday, ended up just kind of like taking more time to spend with her and do family stuff. She really became a part of our family. I mean, she was like having another daughter, and she was a spectacular kid. She, just fit right in hand in glove. So instead of, slogging out 2 hours on the trainer, I decided it was probably better that we just have some family time, and we did that instead. So she originally was going to be going home on Wednesday, and that gave us 48, or actually it was less than 48 hours at the time to, spend time with her. And then we found out, I think it was late Tuesday night or early Wednesday morning, I can't remember the exact timeline, it was late Tuesday night, that they had to cancel that flight, which was nice because we would have had to get up at 3:30 in the morning to get her to the airport. And so we ended up having to get her there on Thursday, in the morning time sometime, and it was a big tear fest. Everybody was crying, and it was really sad to see her go. So this week kind of got thrown, a big curveball, and kind of had to live with the things that were going on there. So I only ended up getting, I think it was just shy of 7 hours in this week, which was a terrible week.
That's not bad.
Yeah, it's not good. I mean, I had a good week last week.
Considering everything.
Yeah, I had a good week last week, and then this week, all things considered, like you just said, it's okay. But my shoulder's still bugging the crap out of me, so that's another tough thing to contend with. Go to see the doc next week if they don't cancel my appointment, so I'm kind of looking forward to that. So that is my back pedal. Good times, huh?
It was rough.
Yeah, it is what it is. There's nothing we can do about it other than make plans to go and see her in Spain. What's wrong with that, right?
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, she's got uncles who are big-time riders out there as well, so they've already told her that when I come out that they'll take me for rides, so it kind of should be fun to go see some Spanish countryside. How about some lead-out news? There's not a lot going on racing-wise, but there have been a few things that have popped up in the news. Anything you guys care to talk about, Mr. Lance?
I've got like 4 things to talk about, actually.
Wow.
The first being, last week we talked all about Strava, and I bemoaned the fact that Strava doesn't allow you to easily find routes to ride.
Yeah.
And they had updated their app either that day or a couple days before where you can.
It was after they listened to the podcast.
It was after, because they do listen to the podcast.
Yeah.
I actually got a text from all their venture capitalists, and they had said, "Oh yeah, don't worry, we got that tomorrow." So
we got you, fam.
So
they had a group of developers standing by.
Yeah. I must have been. I have huge pull at Strava. You realize? So
you're big at Strava, huh?
So kind of cool that just right on the Strava app, if you go to the Explore section, you can actually look for routes right around where you're at, or pick a spot to where you want to ride, or put in how far or hilly or what kind of surface. And so they've actually made a very user-friendly way to find ways to ride. So I kind of tested it for my area to see what it would recommend, if it would recommend like real life where you would want to ride, and it was pretty good. I mean, there's some roads that you don't want to ride on around here, and it didn't take you down any of those roads. It took you kind of on the popular cyclist ones. So I thought that was kind of cool. So that was one update. The next is just this morning. If you're a user of Trainer Road, they sent out an update for their computer app that allows group workouts with live video and live audio.
Yeah, this
Really?
looks cool. Yeah.
Yes, it does look really cool.
No joke, Lance.
So-
I'm starting my Trainer Road stuff tomorrow.
Wow.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Good timing.
Yeah. So they don't have it. They weren't able to roll it out to their phone app or their iPad app yet. So it only works on the app that you use with your computer, either a laptop or your desktop. It works on those, but it's pretty cool. You can start a group workout. You can have up to 5 people right now. Everybody, you can see everybody's face. You can hear everybody. You can see the wattage the people are putting out and what their wattage they're supposed to be doing. You all can do the exact same workout. They're like the first big platform that is able to actually pull off live audio and video that integrated directly with the app.
So on that note, can I just ask you a quick question? Have you guys probably jumped on Zwift at some point in time in the last couple of days? And if you pull up the companion app, they just came out with an update as well that they're telling you to launch or push onto your phone or your devices that you use. The very last bullet point item on there is tweaked rider leader fence functionality and added telemetric for further investigation. By telemetric, I'm assuming that they're coming up with some sort of a chat or some sort of a way to communicate or talk to each other, like a Discord-esque kind of setup. Anybody know anything about that? Because I tried to do the update and I'm not seeing anything on mine, but then again, I haven't run a group session yet. Do you guys have any info or feedback on that?
How do you go to the update? Like, I see what you're talking about on there, but how do you actually update?
You know what I think?
Evan, that's a question for a 7-year-old, Evan. We should ask Matt, 7-year-old.
Matt, can Dash help me with this later? That'd be
Oh, yeah. He's kind of a Strava / Zwift pro.
He's going to need to really dumb it down for me. So. I'm trying to follow along here as Jake's talking. I'm like, I don't know what this is.
I don't know if they're wanting you to update the companion app or the actual program app, but I'm sure both of them are needing some sort of an update, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't know. I was just curious if you guys knew anything around that. I haven't had a chance to look into that. I didn't stumble across that until yesterday, and I meant to look it up after I got off my ride, but you just jogged my memory. I'm like, oh yeah, they said something about that as well, and I haven't had a chance to go look into it.
Yeah, I haven't been able to find exactly what that functionality entails just yet either, so I don't think it's really quite out there.
So how soon before they have some sort of a land that you're riding in, akin to that of Zwift?
I don't think they're going to take that on. I don't think that's their. I mean,
why wouldn't they though?
Because their focus is the workout itself.
But if you do,
they don't want to be the video game of cycling. I think and also it differentiates them from Zwift. I mean, if you were trying to do like a gaming platform like Zwift, I feel like they would just be playing catch up. Obviously they could do different features and stuff like that, but I don't think they'll ever do that video game style. I could see them potentially having something where you have like a real course overlays kind of stuff like that, maybe.
Like kind of like a Rovi or something.
Rovi,
like that? Yeah,
like Rovi or something like that. But I don't think they'll go the route that Zwift is. I think that market is not a smart place to, if you're starting a company, that's a tough one to go after.
I'm thinking just anything. It doesn't have to be like Zwift. It doesn't have to be a video game experience, but anything, or even if it set the table for them to do some sort of a racing league as well, that's where the vast majority of people went. And I mean, I know that the more serious competitive athletes are looking at Trainer Road because they have much better programs, but why wouldn't they entertain the thought of trying to pull in more people into their platform?
Oh, I think that I could see potentially. So what they used to have, and they probably still have something like that, is where you could pop up videos inside of Trainer Road. And you could do stuff like, play a Sufferfest video. And of course, Sufferfest has changed. And then they've, changed their kind of app. And then they also changed and got sold
to Wahoo. Yep.
Wahoo, yeah. So I could definitely see them doing something like that, where they incorporate some video, incorporate some courses, stuff for you to see. But I think a lot of people are using a second screen to watch something while they do their Trainer Road workout. So
I think that's what most people are doing. Is some kind of second screen. Yeah, I agree.
Interesting. Well, we'll see. Time will
see.
tell,
Yeah.
right? What else you got, Lance?
The other two things, last week we talked a little bit about the Olympics and said we are expecting them to delay that any moment, and that actually happened. They have pushed the Olympics back a whole nother year. Just this morning they announced new dates for the Olympics, and it won't be until like July 23rd of 2021. So that was the right call to make, and that actually happened. And then the last thing is the Tour de France has still not postponed or announced anything yet, other than they were considering doing the race without fans, which doesn't really solve the social distancing issue with putting on a race, because all of the racers and all of the teams would be around all of each other the whole time. So I'm not sure I exactly agree with that.
And they still have to get food at each of the towns that they go to. They still have to, I mean, there's still going to be a lot of contact with each little town that they go through. So,
Not unless they don't start until the end of June, or July 1st is around when.
Starts at the beginning of July. Yeah.
Yeah, beginning of July. That's right around when they start. I can't imagine that this virus will have run its course enough by that time to allow something like the Tour de France to happen. But as of right now, they have not postponed or canceled.
Do you think they would push it back? Does it make sense to say it's not going to be in July this year? It's going to be in September?
That's going to be a big, I actually was reading something on this. There's going to be a lot of kickback from the Vuelta in that sense. So what this would be wild, but there is a scenario where they may actually be running two basically simultaneous Grand Tours.
Wow.
Which, I mean,
I don't know how those teams could do that.
Well,
how could teams have?
This is the thing:
do that?
I think that it would come down to basically teams having to choose. It's either that or they would do almost back to back, which means that obviously there'd be nobody riding both.
Well, the Vuelta is going to run
in September.
So why can't they run the Vuelta in like late October? I mean, it's pretty freaking nice in Spain that time of year. Why not?
It is. I think the concern, and I could be completely wrong here, I think some of those climbs that get up to the higher altitudes would be snowed in. I think
in October.
I think so. I think some of those like the Pyrenees, like the eastern Spain climbs. Now I could be wrong there, because I know in the Giro that's a problem with bumping the Giro back at all. Is like the climbs in the Giro historically have even been snowed in during the Giro. If you've seen the Stelvio stages,
okay,
those are where one of the coolest ones is when Chris Horner and I believe it was Vincenzo Nibali went at it on a climb, and it was basically completely the climb was virtually snowed out. It was almost like the climb that never happened because a lot of their feed was getting cut in and out. But
gotcha.
Just throw them on mountain bikes. Just put them on mountain bikes. Be like, we're going through the snow. Nobody's on a road bike today.
Yeah. There's going to be a lot of stuff packed into the end of this year if this whole thing lifts. It's going to be nuts how many people are going to try and reschedule stuff just to make up. It's unfortunate because it has to happen, because that's a lot of people's livelihood.
Yes.
So, cool. What else you got, Lance?
That's it. Those are the four things I got. Champ Bailey out.
Evan, did you have any news that you wanted to chip in? You usually always have a little something to toss in, a little parting thought.
I literally have no. I mean, Matt can back on this. I have been following the triathlon world pretty closely on social media, and the only thing that happened this last week in North American triathlon that even matters would be Sam Long, Lionel Sanders going back and forth on the Mount Lemmon climb.
Yeah,
and a little bit of information on that. So you had Lionel take the KOM from Phil Guyman, which is, in my opinion, a pretty big deal. That's impressive.
I know, right? I thought that was impressive.
Because Lionel, Lionel is not a pure climber either. Lionel's like 165 pounds, which in the cycling world does not qualify you as a climber by any means. And he went out there and did it on a solo effort and took it from Phil. And Sam Long goes out there and does the same effort and comes second to Lionel by like a minute, I think. The only problem is Sam went out there with a partner and was trading poles.
Oh, cheater.
So there's,
that freaking Evan Price cheater.
Do not get me wrong. do not get me wrong. Sam Long is a very, very strong cyclist, but he is not on the level of Lionel Sanders. So I'm sure, Sam is probably going to use that as, like everybody getting on him about that as motivation. But Yeah, it was. He beat Phil, and I'm sure Phil Guyman is not exactly happy about that.
I was going to ask you, any word from Phil on that? Any kind of
Phil
chirp back or anything?
So Phil has chirped back to Lionel Sanders.
Okay.
Friendly, because they're good
banter,
friends.
yeah.
Good banter. He has not responded to Sam's yet, which here's the thing is if you look at the pure watts per kilo numbers, I think Sam was around 5 watts per kilo for the hour and a half effort or whatever. It ends up being an hour and 20. Lionel was closer to that 5.2, 5.3 number, which is where Phil was. So you look at the watts per kilo number and you're like, okay, that was not there. There was an aided effort there, and he was hammering with a pretty strong buddy of his. So yeah.
Did he come out? Go ahead.
I think that Lionel even referenced Phil's charity in his video and got people to donate to Phil's charity, which showed some love towards Phil and what Phil's been doing with No Kids Hungry.
Yes.
And so I think that was another reason why Phil showed a little bit of love back, especially on Twitter, to Lionel Sanders for that. So that was kind of cool to follow too.
I thought that was really cool. I think the Phil and Lionel banter right now is a pretty fun thing to watch, which is cool. Yeah.
Nice. Anything else from anybody else? We moving on?
That's about it.
All right, let's do this. Wait, what's that? Do you guys hear something?
Ooh.
What is this? Kind of groovy, huh?
That's a little bit groovy. Is this music from circa the era when Matt LeGrand was born?
Oh, you know what this is? Anybody guess on this song?
Is this from Matt LeGrand's first YouTube channel? I have no idea.
Maybe he used it sometime. Maybe he uses it in one of the videos that he puts out every year.
No idea.
No idea? Come on. Who dis? Come on, you guys.
Wait a minute.
Is that the other Matt LeGrand?
No.
Oh, God, that would have been great. Who is this?
You guys don't
be looking at me at this table.
Seriously? Okay, put on your sunglasses. Wave your head back to side. There you go.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Name that song.
Yes.
Was this the #1 song when I was born?
No. Here we go. Here he comes. Building. Happy birthday, Matt.
Gotcha. This is
perfect little segue into our segment today. Our topic for the day is Matt LeGrand.
Is how old is Matt LeGrand? How
Which
old?
Matt LeGrand? Because there's 2 on YouTube.
The Matt
true.
LeGrand.
One is
Good one.
one is in the prime of his life, and the other one is the one who's on this call right now.
That sounds about right.
So, Matt, today we're going to talk all things Matt LeGrand. We have a couple little things for you. Got a little...
I just listen, right?
Yeah, you just listen, but we've got an AMA, so you get to actually have some response to this stuff. A little Ask Me Anything that you're volunteering to do, right?
Sure.
Let's start off with some questions for Matt. Evan, what do you have for Matt?
So me and Matt have gone on quite a few long rambling runs together, and I know quite a few of these answers, but I think some cool questions would be stuff that a lot of our listeners don't know. So, Matt, I want you to give me your, I'll say top 2 favorite conversations or people that you've met or had the chance to talk to just through your running. And then number 2 question is I want you to tell the story of when you won your first cross-country state title.
Okay.
Which I don't think a lot of our listeners know, actually.
So I think, it's one thing to go run with a couple of people. I think, you get the chance to run with some I don't know if you want to call them famous people, because I just don't think runners are famous, and they're maybe more famous now than they were back before the internet. I mean, the reality is that internet existed when I was a decent runner, but not like it does now, right? Like, if you're a good runner, you have a following, and that just didn't happen back in the day. We were potentially emailing about stuff. There were websites, but there wasn't a lot of there wasn't an avenue for some of these sports that are small. And I do consider running a small sport. Even biking and swimming and things like that, those are not huge sports. It's not, Major League Baseball or something like that, where there was a following back in the day. And now I think some of these smaller sports kind of have an opportunity to have a decent following the internet. So I think it's been good for us in that way. But there was a coach named Mark Wetmore who I guess he still coaches at Colorado. Again, this was a long time ago. He's one of those streakers, and I mean that in the term that he runs every day, not that he runs naked. So I was in Boulder, Colorado, and I was just out running on some trails, and he just showed up, and I was like, you want to run together? You know, I mean, I knew who he was. Like, I was like, you know, googly-eyed, like, this guy coaches at Colorado. This is, I think, right around the same time as the Running with the Buffalo books came out. They were NCAA champions. They were big time, and he was kind of this persona of like very interesting coach. And so I got to run with him, and you know, he probably thought I was a crazy person, which I guess technically is pretty accurate. But it was pretty nice to run with him. I've run with let's see, Khalid Kanuchi, who had the American record in the marathon. He came from Morocco. He was a very good runner and switched to American citizenship. Basically, there was the Olympic trials were in Birmingham, and I worked with the organizing group. And so I got to run with a whole bunch of people at that time. My job was elite athlete coordinator. So that's a pretty sweet job, right?
It sounds awesome, actually.
Yeah, I also built the website for the Olympic trials. So I had 2 jobs. And so, you know, elite athlete coordinator, I got to meet all the runners and, you know, do whatever, like, hey, they all need to know, like, where do you go for a run? Where are you staying? Which hotels? Blah, 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 blah. And so Khalid Kanuchi was, he might have been the American record holder at the time. Anyway, he's not the record holder anymore. But also Meb Keflezighi was there that year. Very awesome person. And actually Khalid Kanuchi I liked Khalid Kanuchi a lot. He and I wore the same shoes, or this New Balance shoe that was an awesome shoe back in the day. They don't make it anymore, but it was just kind of like, yeah, this is the greatest shoe. And he was like, I had New Balance make me a whole bunch of these because they quit making them, right? And
stockpiled them.
Yeah, I know. He can just call him and be like, give me 100 pairs of these. A couple of other runners from back then. Alan Culpepper, I really liked him. You know, again, these are all the people that you guys probably don't know, but they were Olympians and just people that I thought were cool. There's some other runners that I probably mentioned before. I shouldn't say bad things about them, but I will. There's a guy named Dan Brown, who I think is at least a 2 or 3 time Olympian, not the author, but the runner. And he was just like, here's my autograph. And I'm like, thanks, buddy. Like, he just felt so full of himself.
Wait, he just offered you up an autograph?
Yeah, I'm like, thanks. And everyone else was just like, treated you like a human. I don't know.
That's how you run.
So I felt like I've got the opportunity to run with a whole bunch of really great runners. Some of the best people were, you know, running with teammates, right? Like, I had a teammate that was extremely fast at Alabama. He was like a 13:10 guy. It's just an amazing human being, right? And so running with people like that, you're like, this is great. Like, they're elite and they're also just good people and they work hard, and you get to see all of that stuff. And you kind of realize you don't have to be a snob or you don't have to be a jerk to be a good runner. Like, I sometimes think like youthful people see that, you know, with some sort of pro athlete, and they're like, that's how I have to act. No, you don't. Like, some of the best runners in the world are good people. So I think that just being exposed to that, you know, in my 20s was a pretty cool experience. The next part of your question was what, Evan? You said, I'm trying to remember. It was something.
The next part of that question was to tell the story of your
state championship stuff.
Yeah. The first time you won.
So I probably have mentioned this on the podcast before, but let's see. So sophomore year of high school, I had been running since 7th grade, and I was a good runner. I had run. If you're a decent enough runner at the school that I was at, you could run high school varsity in middle school, which is crazy because the whole school is kind of combined. And so pretty much since like 7th, 8th grade, I was running varsity. And by the time I was in 8th grade, I was the top runner for our team. But we're talking like small town Alabama. And there's literally, we struggled to get 5 people on our team. And if you're familiar with cross country, you need 5 people to score. If you don't have 5 people, you don't get to score as a team. And so we would beg people to like, come run cross country. Please don't quit cross country. We can't score without you. And so, being one of the top runners on the team wasn't like this big feather in my cap. It was just like, please stay with us. Please work, stay on the team. But my sophomore year was slightly interesting. I remember I lived about a half a mile from school. And so I woke up that morning of the state meet and, grabbed some food or whatever and jogged to the school to get on the bus, or we had these like little vans because it was a small team.
To get on the bus, quote unquote.
Quote unquote bus. It was one of those like big vans. And we took that down to Birmingham, Alabama for the state championships. And, I just lined up and raced because I'd never won a race in my entire life. But I ran the first mile and I was thinking to myself, like, it was a extremely hilly course. And so you run the first mile and I'm like, I see the front of the race. Like I've never really, this isn't unfamiliar. And it was a little bit different. Like I had a good season and I had trained through the summer. And I sometimes think when you're in high school, if you just train through the summer, like you're, 20 steps ahead of everyone else. But after the first mile, I was like, I'm moving up towards the front. Like, I don't know what to do. And right after the mile, there's this hill. It's like, I would definitely describe it as, we're familiar with Lacamas Lane, whereas the hill that Jake and I live on, it's like a wall, right? You're just like staring right at this thing. And it was a tough hill, not nearly as long as that, but like very steep. And so I hit that thing and we're all basically just like tiptoeing, trying our best to hang on this massive hill. And like, I just floated into the lead and had no idea what to do. Like never had led a race in my life. And
is there protocol for leading a race? Is there?
What's that?
Is there protocol? Did you need to like wave as you were leading or say something?
Yeah, what's the protocol here? But I got to the top of the hill and like just, you're running a little bit further and my coach was like freaking out and she was like, just keep going. Because I looked at her like confused, right? I must have had it would be great to have a picture from that. I do have pictures from that race.
Please share.
Just I think I have like one. Oh yeah, and I had longer hair and stuff. You'll love it. But I think it's later on in the race. It's not the confused look picture. That would be the best. That doesn't exist. But yeah, I ended up the last 2 miles of the race just completely gapping the field and won the race. And then a girl that was actually a very good runner, she of course won because she wins. She would win every race. If you're a good runner in Alabama, it's interesting because you see this with high school athletes where a talent that's going to go through and be a good collegiate runner, or in her case, she was like a 4-time Olympic trials qualifier. So very good runner. Like someone like that, if they come through a small school system, they just destroy everything. And so she and I both had won the state championship that year, and we were in the newspaper and all this stuff. It was a cool experience. And so I got home and I told my parents like, oh yeah, I won the state championships. And they were like, what? And I'm like, we need to, we need to go see if I'm in the newspaper tomorrow, because the newspaper interviewed me and all this stuff. And of course my mom was pretty pumped about it and like went and bought 3 or 4 copies of the newspaper the next day. And she paid for them. Like at the time you could like have those little newsstands where you pull it down, you put your quarters in, you pull it down, and you can take as many copies as you want. But she paid for all the copies, so that was a good parenting moment for sure.
That is awesome.
I would have just stolen like 20 of them and been like, we got all these.
Empties all of Matt's just piggy bank, took all the quarters and bought all of the newspapers.
So that was cool. I probably still have newspaper clippings, scrapbook stuff, so I can go back. In fact, I do this late at night, every night, basically at about 2 a.m. I open up my scrapbook and I cry. I cry a little bit on the scrapbook. So there are tears, tear stains on the newspaper clippings, but I still have them.
That is awesome. That's so cool. Have you shown those to your kids yet, Matt?
I don't think so. I have a closet in my office that just has like a whole bunch of stuff, like awards and stuff. And so my kids they really don't see it. But like one time recently, I was like, you guys can pick any award you want. And this was one of those, like, if you sleep through the night without waking up your parents, you can pick any trophy you want and you can have it. And so, inevitably they were super motivated by that, which was funny. And they slept through the night, and I don't remember if this was Ethan or Sam. I think it was Ethan. And he like came and he was like, all right, here's the trophy I want. And it wasn't particularly meaningful to me. It was some road race that I had won. And I might have been like this Coleman, Alabama 5K. I don't remember, but it had not done well in the like moving from house to house or whatever. And the head had been chopped off. And he was like, that's the one I want. I want the one with the head chopped off. And then I'm just, you're just thinking to yourself, did I raise a psychopath?
You're like, Ethan, is there a reason that you want that one, or is this?
Why do you want the one with the head cut off? That's a little weird. But he still has it in his closet of his room. It's weird, but it's just a weird trophy.
That's too funny. That is too funny.
Lance, do you have a question for Matt?
I do. I had to mute myself there for a minute because my landscaping crew showed up to mow my lawn. That's how lazy I am right now. And the was stealing the garbage out of the back of the landscaper's truck and eating their scraps. So I had to go save the dog.
Oh, that's funny.
Piper wouldn't. Yeah, sorry. So, but I'm back now. So
Good timing.
I missed some of that. I hope it wasn't bad.
It was pretty horrible. So
it was pretty horrible. Okay.
There were tears involved.
My question for Matt.
Matt cried on his newspaper clippings.
What kind of pushed you to get into triathlon?
So what's interesting is I've been dealing with this Achilles issue. I'm probably talked about it about how many episodes do we have? I've pretty much talked about it on each episode.
Every episode.
Yeah. Everyone got it. So that actually started in college. It's been a problem for a long time. And I find, and I've gone to see so many doctors and so many physical therapists and all this stuff. And so I went to my doctor who I really like. And I was like, I got it. I got to do something about this. I'm running about 2 miles every day and it's all slow and I'm not that healthy. I'm just programming a lot. And I go sneak out for a 2-mile lunch run with my dog. And I was like, my Achilles is still horrible. He's like, have you ever tried taking some time off? And I'm like, I was like, I've tried some stuff, but I will. He was like, why don't you take 3 months off or something like that? I think it was 3 months. He's like, why don't you take 3 months completely off, see if your Achilles gets better? And I was like, fine, I've tried everything. But in my mind, I was like, I don't really miss any days of running. Even though I'm doing like 2 miles a day, it was like I don't miss anything. And so what I said to myself was like, I need to get a bike immediately, like tomorrow, and I need to find a pool to swim in like tomorrow. And so
had you swam? But when you were younger, Matt, were you ever on swim team?
No.
Okay.
I wasn't. I wasn't a good swimmer, but I was okay. Like I knew how to not die. And I always had been interested in endurance sports because of that like bit of kinship, and I don't know if you guys feel this, coming from cycling or whatever it is, but you're just like, oh, I was always like swimmers, like you guys work hard, you swim twice a day. Like I just kind of had a little bit of respect for them. Cyclists, same thing, where I'm like, you guys put in so much work. It kind of reminds me of running in that you're doing these, endurance activities. It felt familiar, and so I appreciated that. And in fact, I wish I'd gotten into cycling earlier because I had a lot of really interesting opportunities that I completely glossed over because I was a runner, right? And so you didn't do that. But this was like, hey, 3 months off, I'm going to swim and I'm going to bike and I'm going to do something every day. That was my plan. And then I thought, obviously, like, well, triathlon is something that I would definitely consider. And so Craigslist, found a bike, and the guy was like, do you want to take it for a test ride? And I'm like, nope, I need to buy this today. And okay.
It's like sucker born every
the guy was a great person. He was actually, he like worked in a church, and he was in fact, we we kind of became friends, and I think I still follow him on Strava and stuff like that. He's a really good cyclist, actually. But he moved to, I don't remember where he moved to, Utah or something like that. And he still like catches KOMs on all these big climbs in Utah. But he was basically upgrading his bike, and he had a specialized aluminum. Olay, sorry.
Yep, no worries.
That's okay. I figured you might know the correct pronunciation.
I did.
Evan still can't. He still can't update his Zwift app, so it doesn't.
So yeah, I basically just bought that bike and started riding it. It was great. And then
those
swimming,
are such awesome bikes.
Swimming, I hopped in this pool, and it was at Cascade, I think, because I was looking at two. I was like, well, let me look at the two swim clubs that are close, and it was Cascade and Lackamas Swim and Sport. And I looked at Cascade, and I asked the lifeguard on duty, I was like, is this an Olympic-sized pool? Yes. And in my mind, I knew that means it's a 50-meter pool. So I swam a mile, and I think it was like 22 minutes or something like that. I don't remember what my time was, but it was maybe, and I looked it up, and I remember going home and looking online and being like, this is what I swam, 22 minutes or something like that. And people were like, man, I swim twice a day, and I swim about 22 minutes or whatever the time was. It might have been like faster than that. It might have been 18 minutes. But I was like, man, I'm a good runner, so maybe I'm just magically this awesome swimmer. Turns out that I had swam half of a mile.
That's what I was about to ask. I was like, I guarantee he counted the laps wrong.
Yeah, that hurt.
Wait,
that
so
hurt
did you think it was
for that moment? I was like, I am a pretty good athlete. Maybe I just.
That's
like I was believing for a second that I was, maybe I could do. Yeah.
Matt, that would be like the equivalent of like, could you imagine if just not saying a chunky guy, but if somebody came up to you and told you,
they're probably a little overweight. Yeah.
They're like, okay, so I went for a 5-mile run, but it was actually a 5K, and they're like, and I did 30 minutes. Is that pretty solid? And you look at them and be like, oh, 6. I mean, that's pretty darn solid, man. But I don't know if you've got that in you.
Exactly. That's exactly what it was like.
Oh, miles. I thought you meant kilometers. My bad.
Oh my bad. And so I went to Lackamas Swim and Sport and had a good experience. And they were like, hey, we do triathlon and all this stuff. And if you sign up, and I was just like, these are people doing stuff that I'm interested in. And it was kind of a no-brainer. And so I remember like working on trying to swim for a mile. And then I finally got myself to be able to, swim a full mile as opposed to a half mile. And then shortly after that, I hopped in with with Lance's old training group, which is this like triathlon training group. And it was like February, and they were doing this indoor pool workout. They were all training for an Ironman, and we went through this massive workout. It was like 2,000. I don't remember how far it was, but the last part of it was like, and now after that workout, we're gonna swim a mile. And I was like, oh, I can do this. I've swam a mile before. And so we ended up with like 3,000 or almost. Maybe it was like 35. It was a long workout. And I was like, couldn't believe that I'd made it through this super long workout with this triathlon group. And it was pretty easy to just kind of like work myself. And they were impressed too, right? Because we did this basically like try a triathlon thing. And, you swim in the pool and you get out and you go for a bike ride. And I was one of the, even though I wasn't that great of a swimmer, I was one of the first newbies out of the pool. And I was okay on the bike. And then on the run, I think I ran like a 12-minute 2-mile. And they were like, whoa, that's amazing. And
did you run before?
I was like, well, I have this running background. And, and they're, and then it was just like this, this Lackamas Swimming Sport group, they call themselves the Headhunters. It was like super nice just to have people to train with. And and then right after that triathlon, I did a real sprint triathlon race, and it was horrible, but just like everyone, they have a horrible triathlon experience when they start, and you get better and you have something to work towards. And so I thought that was pretty cool. And then as I kind of built up and started training, my plan was kind of like, okay, next step after that was Olympic. And then just slowly over 3 years, by the third year, I was like, I'm going to train for an Ironman. I had built up, I think, slowly enough that it was the kind of the right build up. If I was coaching someone on how to build up for an Ironman, I would be like, take 3 years, do a sprint, do an Olympic, do a half Ironman, and then the last, year, like do the full. And I think it was the right, I don't think that I intelligently did that, but it was just one of those things where it's like, okay, I can try this half, or okay, I think I'm ready to try a full. In the year that I trained for the full, I was doing lots of 2-a-day workouts, really taking the training seriously. And so I think that was the point where I was like, I really love this sport. And a lot of it was the nostalgia for like running, where it was like, I used to run twice a day and it felt like, oh, I'm training like a real athlete like I used to. And so I think just that nostalgia feeling was like enough to lock me in and be like, I'm going to keep doing this. I love the amount of training that you can do, the volume and stuff like that. And so now I'm this sad heap of mush.
That is not the
Instead of training twice a day, I train twice a week. So that's also,
you're just taking that pseudo break again before you get yourself into your master's level of racing. And that's, because now that you are the ripe old age of 41, you really do, fit nicely into that master's categorization.
That's
now, I think.
right.
Yeah, truly a master at his craft.
If I had done well in my 40s, when I was 40 years old, not 41, everyone would have been like, yeah, sure, of course. But now that I'm 41, I'm ready to attack.
Yes, exactly. 40 was too young. 41 is the perfect time now.
Cool. I have a few questions, and I want to kind of dive into your YouTube channel, the YouTube
there.
/ Matt LeGrand, correct? Is that right? Or M. LeGrand?
M. LeGrand,
yeah.
M. LeGrand.
Not the Matt
If you
LeGrand.
go to if you search for Matt LeGrand, I'm one of the top couple people. There's another Matt LeGrand who's also fantastic. So
and is also famous on this show.
So many choices.
Someday we will have him on this show.
Uh-huh.
So, what was your first thought of like you want to start a YouTube channel with respect to doing something in the triathlon? What was your first thought process there? What was it that really kind of pushed you to do what you're doing now?
So I would say that, and this is probably like a lot of people, they are watching some stuff and they are inspired. In particular, it was, trail running videos. We probably see like cyclist videos that really are inspiring.
Sure.
And to me, I was like, oh, wow, I do all this stuff. I go on these rides. I go on these runs. I do all this beautiful stuff. And you want to be able to capture it. And so, and my gut feeling is that we all kind of feel that way, where we're like, hey, this spot that I bike to is gorgeous. We all want to take a picture. We all feel like, man, I wish I could kind of capture that. And so that was the initial kind of draw of, hey, can I do that? And the answer was no. You're really horrible at putting together these videos. And so it was a matter of kind of like, okay, well, I had started to, look a little deeper into it, and I'd gone out with a GoPro and, tried to make a video of running on trails, and it just wasn't good. It wasn't what I wanted it to be. And I think that we are all that way when we kind of start on any sort of artistic endeavor where, we see something that we want it to be and it's not there yet, but we're trying. And so started watching some videos and stuff like that. And a guy that I know Jake's familiar with, there's probably a ton of our listeners that are familiar with this guy. There's a guy named Peter McKinnon. I had stumbled across his stuff because there was another YouTuber that mentioned him, and I started checking it out, and I was like, oh, this guy's, he's talking about photography. He's talking about videography. These are things that I can learn and try to apply to this stuff that I want to do, which is, build these beautiful trail videos and things like that. And really the way that a lot of these, I'd say, cinematography YouTube channels are set up is they're there to teach people. And I just thought to myself, like, this is what triathlon needs. Our sport is dwindling. The numbers are not going in the right direction. People are really not that interested in our sport. But what if there was an easy spot for people to just learn about this stuff and be inspired by pretty trail footage, pretty cycling footage, things like that? And so that was the goal for the channel. Now, great, goals are good, but execution is another thing. And so I think I will say I'm not there yet as far as where I want to be on, putting things together and filming things and getting the timing right on stuff, because that is one of those things that in some ways I probably won't ever be completely satisfied with. I definitely think that I've improved. I can definitely see improvement from the first video that I posted to now, but it still needs a little bit of work. And I want to do I want to build this, I want to put together some sort of trail running, the original goal, right? Like, some sort of inspirational running trail video. The idea will be like, should triathletes run trails? Lots of pretty trail footage, and I've been talking about making this video for a while, and it's just a matter of getting it where I want it to be before I put something like that together and make it work. But I'll get there. So I'm probably, I don't know how many videos I've posted. I guess around 130, 140 videos, maybe, somewhere in that range. And I think it's, the more you make, the more you post, the better you get, the better you figure out stuff.
Absolutely,
so
yeah.
if someone's, and so if someone's interested in doing something similar, we need a ton more people to make triathlon content, cycling content. YouTube so far isn't full to capacity on that material. And so we really need people to actually post stuff. And if your first couple videos don't turn out great, like, that's okay. That's by design. They're not going to be great
Takes time,
when you start.
Yep.
And so I'm encouraging everyone to keep making videos, keep posting videos, especially if it's about triathlon or cycling, because I really do think that we need more people on the platform making stuff like this. Just because I don't think our sports, I mentioned this earlier, I don't feel like our sports are super popular, but if we have the internet to use as a tool to build popularity amongst our sport, now I think that's super valuable.
Yeah, triathlon's it's a difficult sport to kind of wrap your head around to get into. There's a lot of people, no matter how fit you are, like when you first get into it, there's a lot of like question marks. It's like, how do I do this? How do I put that together? What parts and pieces do I need? What accessories and training programs? Matt hits the head on a lot of these things, and he just keeps pumping out more and more videos. So it's a great resource for people to check out and to learn a lot of the little tips and tricks that come from somebody that's kind of already been there. And that's kind of nice. It's reassuring. And Matt does a really good job. I mean, they're very palatable, like videos that are like, you can sit down. You don't have to spend 45 minutes watching a video. You can usually knock out a video. How long your average video is?
3-4 minutes, right, Matt?
No, more like 7 to 10, right?
Yeah. That's exactly right. Like some are 3 to 4. In fact, I think the past 2 are 3 to 4, and then there's a whole heap of them that are in that 10-minute range.
Yeah.
The next video that comes out, I'm guessing, will be long. It just depends on the topic. Like if I'm talking about my birthday, then I can do that pretty quick and short.
Sure.
But if I'm really diving deep into a particular pair of like custom fit goggles, then those videos are going to run long because people want to see, how does that work? Like, why is it a custom goggle? Like, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
Or just some of the more technical stuff that you want to dive into and give, good details. So
knowing that, we'll just say that like your average video is like 7 minutes long.
Sure.
So from the time of like, all right, I'm going to do this video. I've got my topic. From the time that you have to go and like get all of your video footage, go and film everything, go and edit everything, and then post it up to YouTube. How long is that process? How much time are you putting into your average video?
Way more than I'm willing to admit, probably. I try not to time myself because it would be so disheartening, I think.
Yeah.
But like I'll do stuff like I was on the trainer and I, set up a light, set up a camera, hopped on the trainer, made sure I got some footage of me on the trainer, and that way I had something in the birthday video. But in addition to that, I captured this heart rate monitor that I'm going to be reviewing, which is it's not a wrist-based heart rate monitor and it's not a chest strap heart rate monitor. You can put it on your forearm or on your bicep or something like that. And it's from Polar. It's called the OH1 Plus. You can also use it strapped to your goggle. And so I need a small clip. And sometimes these clips are like, this is going to show on the video for 2 seconds or less, right?
Yeah.
But I needed to show the heart rate monitor working on the bike or on a bike trainer. And so I have that video clip from this. And so I have all little times where I'm like, set up a camera, set up lights, get at least a quick clip of that so that I can use this in this video and this video. Throw a GoPro on when Jake and I go for a ride, make sure that I have that little heart rate monitor in at least some sort of fashion in the clip, and so that I can show outside riding and inside riding and all these little different parts of it. And this, so the weird part about this is it's like so many different days, because obviously I didn't ride indoors and ride outdoors. we rode outdoors like 2 weeks ago, and I was getting that video clip. And then this was like yesterday getting this indoor clip. And then obviously I haven't been swimming, but I have footage from when I was swimming with that clip to my goggles. And so I have slowly built up the footage that I need to put together that particular thing. And so all the little B-roll clips, I don't know, take forever / they kind of just happen as I do stuff, other things.
Well, that's a pretty good way to optimize your time, though, as opposed to like stopping and going through each individual thing and setting it up. I mean, that could take time if you're just going to optimize. Yeah, that's good use of time.
It's okay. I think then the talking head stuff, I set up lights and I do a sound check typically. And then, so that's not that bad. It really, it might take an hour or something like that to get all that done. And then the editing, depending on the edit and stuff like that, might take 2 hours or more. It depends on if I'm trying to do something stupid, which I always am, which is like, I don't know how to do this hidden text behind this leaf. I'm going to try and do that. That's going to take me like 3 hours.
Yeah.
I don't know. So I do stupid stuff all the time like that to try to learn some editing techniques and things. That takes way more time than it should. I have another like YouTuber buddy, that I think I really like a lot of his stuff. And he is smarter than I am. And he is very conscious about how much time it takes for him to do stuff. And so he posts a lot more regularly. And my gut feeling is that if you post to YouTube more regularly, you will have a significantly larger following. You just find, more videos, more subscribers. People are finding more material. And he basically spends about an hour or an hour and a half on each video. And so he can post almost every day.
Sure.
And so I think that's a smarter approach. I'm just taking a completely different approach than smart. Some would call it maybe dumb, where I'm kind of spending a lot more time on stuff. And it's not necessarily better. And it's funny because you think that like, oh, people will gravitate towards this content that someone spent more time on. They don't. Like some of my most popular videos are videos where I'm like, oh, I just had a few minutes to throw this together and, put it out there, and bam, people seem to respond to it. So
gotcha. One other quick question.
Sure. 2
videos. Which one would you say you're the most proud of, and which one would you say you're the least proud of that's on your Matt LeGrand channel?
I don't love... Let's see. So maybe I should talk about some stuff that's more recent that I don't like. I'd have to look at my channel. Something that I'm proud of. I did a video, and I think it's called 1,000 thank yous or something like that.
Yeah.
Didn't get very many views, but I really like it. I think it's just
the sentiment behind it.
Yeah, and I took the time to drive out to this road that I really like out in the country and get drone footage and just some good footage of that particular biking little activity that I did.
Sure.
And so that video I like. I think it's okay. There's other videos that I really like. Any of the ones, this is really getting into the weeds, but any of the ones that I think have good sound design, I think really resonate with me, and that's just because it's something that I'm working on. So sound design is basically like you have your video, and if you're swimming or something like that, then you need to have some splashing noises, and so you can add that stuff into the video afterwards to really make it feel genuine. And so, for example, the last video that I posted was about the birthday, and there's drone footage, and I added birds chirping and stuff. And so you kind of feel like, you feel a little bit more like you're there. And so any of the ones with good sound design, I think are excellent, and so those are the ones I kind of gravitate towards, but they take more time too, right? So you're like, oh, I've got this drone footage, but it doesn't have any sound, right? It's like, well, you got to add that back in there. It's got to go find a sound, all this stuff. It's like, what a waste of time, right? Because people aren't going to notice it.
Yeah.
The ones I'm not super proud of, I didn't really love my triathlon in the age of COVID-19 video. When I was making it, I was like, I don't really like this video. I'm trying to think of what else. There's actually, the Roka goggles video was horrible. The audio quality, it was I had a new microphone or something like that, and it just didn't work or something. And I was like, screw it, I'm going to publish it anyway. So I really disliked that one.
Your review videos get by far the most views, but the Roka one did not.
The Roka one, Yeah. No, I mean, the Rokuin got 242 views. I posted it a month ago. But some of the other ones that are good got less than that. Like the photo contest one, I would like for more people to see it, even though it's a short video and it's not it's not the best video I've ever done. But the idea of having a photo contest, I think, is cool and fun, and it's cool to see other people's photos. And so hopefully people will pick up on that eventually. But yeah, the Roku one, I think it's just, with the product stuff, it's whatever people are searching for. So
Right.
people are searching for the Theragun, which I didn't spend a lot of time on that video, but that's what they're searching for, the Theragun. So that's
2,000 views on that, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Lance, what else do you got for Matt?
Bringing it back around to cycling.
Thank you.
What's your favorite place to ride?
Well, so like in the world or
that is an open-ended question.
In the area. So in the area,
I'll say
so Jake probably knows this because you probably have biked with me the most. I am all about avoiding traffic and looking for small country roads. So any roads that are smooth and typically we can kind of piece them together if we go, north of Camas, Washington. So for people that aren't familiar with where we live in the United States in the Pacific Northwest, just north of Portland. We actually live in the state of Washington. And I live in the small town of Camas, Washington, which is close to the it's very close to Portland. It's close to the Portland airport. But north of that, it's more rural, I would say. And so there are some nice country roads that you can catch, and you can kind of connect them. There is a fair amount of traffic, and it does feel like there's more and more unfriendly traffic. But for the most part, I think that if you're on some of those cool country roads, you're dealing with less traffic, and some of them are just gorgeous. And so
when you were Ironman training, Matt, was the ride around Clark County a pretty consistent long ride route for you?
That's exactly. And so that route's a 100-mile route, and it is exactly that. It's you basically just go north and you do this huge big loop. And since I've been doing Ironmans, which is, I don't know, for the past 8 years or so, my go-to ride for Ironman training is that Clark County loop, which is that 100-mile loop. And I used to time myself doing it. So I would literally take less breaks, eat on the bike, everything I could do to not have any time off the bike. I think I stopped once to fill up waters and bathrooms, and I would time myself getting off the bike. I was like, last year I did this in 17 minutes. This year I was able to do that same break in 14 minutes, or whatever it is. So I would have a total time for that particular ride. And I would usually go about 5.5 hours. So Evan, slightly slower than your 112 on the trainer. But
there you go. Yeah, little bit different. I did not have to take a gas station bathroom break at any point. So
you just went on the trainer, right?
Oh, I just pee myself on the trainer. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You can't be getting off the trainer. Yeah, it's all about time and saddle.
It's worth it. Yep.
Yeah, if you search really hard, you'll find a couple segments. Matt's favorite road north, and Matt's favorite road south.
Matt's favorite road north and south. Right.
And it's funny because
it's horrible. Yeah, we'll ride these rides, and we'll be on some sort of road, and I'll be like, "This is my favorite road," and then we keep going. We get to the next road or whatever. And I'm like, "This is my favorite road."
I used to hear it every time we would go for a ride every week. Oh, I love this road. This is my favorite road. Oh, I love this road. This is my
There are some roads on that right across or right around Clark County route, Matt, though, that I'll agree with you. There's 5 or 6 I could make my top 2 list. I think they're just awesome country roads.
Yeah.
Cool. What else, Evan? What else you got?
That was about, I was actually going to ask a very similar. So going off Lance's question, Matt, do you have a ride or let's say a race course, cycling race leg that you've done that was your favorite and all the Ironman races that you've done?
In Ironman specific races, Ironman Canada is gorgeous because you're biking along lakes, the whole time, and you're climbing all these mountains, and some of them are snow-capped mountains, and you bike. And when it was Whistler, they had this spot where you'd bike up to this ski jump and stuff. So absolutely amazing. So that is definitely high up on the hit list as far as Ironman events go. Y Racing Events has their Pac Crest race where you're riding. Yeah, you're riding in the mountains in Oregon, and basically Mount Bachelor and what's the name of that national forest? Deschutes National Forest, I think.
Deschutes, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so that you're riding through that for a large percentage, almost the entire ride, and it's gorgeous as well.
That's one of my favorite routes, just period. I think of everything I've been on, I'd probably have to point to that to be my favorite. Yeah,
I know, it's really pretty. So to have that in a race, a lot of times when you're racing, you're actually focusing on the race, which is tough, right? Because you're like, oh, it'd be nice to just chill on this ride and soak it all in, but instead I've got to like focus on getting to the top of this hill, or I'd illegally draft behind Evan as much as possible.
Absolutely.
Stuff like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm a bad draft.
Right on. Lance, are you done? You have any more?
Yep.
You're done?
I think that's it.
There's not that much. There's nothing to ask me. I'm not that much of a.
Oh, there's lots of questions. There's lots of questions. Just got to keep time in mind here today.
I was going to say,
open book. Everyone should know everything by now.
There's even, and I know that you've never shared on the podcast, but Matt, even while he was chasing post-collegiate running lifestyle, basically lived out of his car for a short period while training in Boulder. So there's Matt's full of awesome stories. Yes, full of awesome and dumb stories, which are inherently awesome if they're dumb enough.
Yeah.
I got a couple last questions, and then we've got one last little thing for you. What is your next big photography/videography purchase?
I need a 70-200 lens. That should be on my list. I don't know. So that's probably it. I feel like I have a lot of the stuff that I need. I feel like I can, at this point, I feel like I can make a film decently.
Good.
But you never know. Like if Sony announces the A7S III, which is this camera that's got all these magical specs, it's going to be very tempting just because I like to post stuff in 4K. If you ever go to my channel, you can look at it and you can play it on your TV at home if you have a 4K TV or stuff like that. And so I really do like to have higher quality content if possible. And the Sony, the one that I have, I can do that. But I am doing some upscaling of certain things. And so I would love to have the ability to have all of it be like true 4K and edit in 4K and stuff like that. So little things like that. That lens, though, the 7200, it would be perfect for doing some things, especially for like kids sporting events and things like that. And so that'd be nice. Excellent.
And then when is the Matt LeGrand podcast starting?
Matt LeGrand podcast. This is the Matt LeGrand podcast. There's only one. Yeah.
And this is how bloated all of our egos have become. Is in all of our heads, this is either the Lance podcast, the Matt podcast, or the Evan podcast. And Jake's the only one with level head here. So
I'll just edit it. And then real quick, you've got about 1.7, well, just 1,700 followers.
Million followers, yeah.
Yeah, million.
Yeah.
That's almost what I said.
In for million.
1.7 million followers or 1,000, one or the other. But
do you know if anybody following you is famous or notable?
Oh, that's a good question.
I don't know, because you don't really know who follows you.
Yeah, but has anybody ever commented and you know for sure that they're maybe a follower of yours?
There are people that have definitely commented that are people that are like you get a lot of other YouTubers, right? Like people that, so there's a guy that I really like. He's got maybe 40 or 50,000 subscribers. Mm-hmm. I think he follows me and he's a runner. I think it depends. I don't really feel like there's anyone that's super famous necessarily that follows me.
Okay, cool. And the last question. Sure. Any like inside information and any like behind the scenes stuff that you can tell us for something big coming up, or is it pretty much going to be just more of the same?
Yes, you are going to want to watch the video that comes out on the day of this podcast, which is I think going to be around the beginning of April. And that video, I'm going to be reviewing I'm just going to bit of a spoiler for you guys, but there's a watch on my desk that I'm going to be reviewing, and this is quite possibly the best triathlon watch on the market of today or yesterday or of all time.
Really?
This is the
because I need to know.
This is the Casio calculator watch.
Oh God!
This is the CS 831 edition. Not to be confused with the 821. But this watch, yeah, I'm going to put this thing through its paces, and I'm going to put it up against the Garmin 945. But that's going to be an open water swimming / biking / running. And really, going through all the specs of this watch. And then I'm not going to tell you guys how it ends, but you're going to want to check that video out for sure because.
And that's on April 1st, right?
That's going to be, probably April 1st.
Yeah, I think that's when the show comes out.
Now, Matt, with respect to social distancing here, if we open water swim, will you need any freezing, like somebody just about frozen sort of footage coming up here?
Yeah, I always need footage. That's the thing is like, there's so many, even testing some of these companies, these people are like, we want you to, here's this stuff, like test it, use it on all this stuff. And I'm like, I'm not even swimming right now. So, but ideally, open water swimming for so many things. One, because I want to talk about some like safety videos for open water swimming and just, there's a lot of people that put their wetsuits on backwards. So,
yes,
if we can help one person out, that would be amazing. And so, definitely we'll need open water footage at some point. I don't know. I did go down to the water. I haven't told you guys this yet. Last week I went down to the water. Maybe it was Thursday or Friday. I went down and I needed some footage and stuff. And so I got what I needed for that. And I was like, and I want to swim a little bit. I put my Garmin in the lake to get a temperature readout, and it was 53 degrees. So it's quite cold.
Oh, that's balmy.
What I forgot to do was really bring all my really warm stuff. And so I didn't have, I really want like a thermal cap and some other stuff like that. And so but I did hop in and I tried to swim a little bit. And I knew I wasn't going to really do a real swim. But I probably swam about, I would say 25, 50 meters. And oh my gosh, it was excruciating.
Oh, you're really making me excited about.
Well, it's hard because it's like my face was killing me, but also other things. Usually my face just hurts and you get over it.
Yeah.
But also like my hands were frozen, everything like that. So I think I'm potentially going to wait a little bit. I would love for the water to be at least another, I don't know, at least maybe 60 degrees or so before we try and really get in there and do something decent. But maybe that's not possible. I have people hitting me up every day to go open water swim because no one can swim in their pools. And so they're like, hey, Matt, we got to do this. The answer is yes, we have to do this. So I guess we will.
I'm just waiting for everybody's reports because I know there were some people who went last week and it was incredibly freezing, and there were some people that are going this week and oh boy.
All right,
my report is it's effing cold.
It is not warm. Yeah.
I think we have one more thing here for you, Matt. If I'm not mistaken, it's something in the vein of some like top 10 Matt LeGrand factoids or something along those. What do you got, Lance?
Yes, we do. We've got the top 10 things about Matt LeGrand. Are you ready for this?
I hope they're dirty.
It's like somewhat roast style.
All right, number 10. His catchphrase should be, "What's up, ladies and gentlemen of the internet? I'm glad you're both listening." Number 9. Only a track coach would name his kid Dash.
True.
This is
Number
very
8.
true.
When he said he's from Alabama, I thought he was a shrimp and boat captain from Greenbow. Number
also
7.
Also accurate.
Also accurate. His PRs are all older than Evan and faster than mine, therefore I hate him.
Yes.
Number 6. He married a doctor, so he's smarter than all of us. Number 5. He's funniest out of all of us, therefore I hate him. Number 4. It took me 3 months to grow a shaggy mustache, and he grew a Paul Bunyan beard in 2 weeks, therefore I hate him. Number 3. His Instagram account should be renamed Lacamas Lake Aerial Shots.
Seriously.
Number 2, he has more sets of goggles than Whitey Tighties. And number 1, everyone should make their own YouTube birthday tribute. There you go, ladies and gentlemen.
Yay.
Nice. Thank you, guys.
Happy birthday, Matt.
You're welcome.
Happy
birthday,
41st, Matt.
All right, let's jump into one last thing here. Lance, what you got?
I got nothing. I'm going to ride some more bikes inside and try not to go crazy. That's it.
Nice. Evan, one last thing.
I'm going to try not to freeze once I decide to jump into Fallen Leaf Lake. So, yeah, more later.
Matt, one last thing.
All I have to say is a big thank you to the 3 of you guys for shaming me publicly. And I do appreciate it.
It was easy.
Yeah, it's so easy. Definitely appreciate it, and I definitely appreciate the podcast. It's nice having a tight group of guy friends to chat about. So whatever it is that we talk about, I don't know what we talk about.
I kind of forget each time too. So yeah.
I know.
All right, my one last thing. We have a Patreon account now, and if you don't know what that is, it's a way that you can support the show by giving us all of your money. Now, we've got a couple different tiers in there, and really at the end of the day, it's just a way that we're not trying to put money in our pockets here. We're just trying to maybe offset the costs that come along with producing this thing. There's equipment and monthly costs and just the things that come up that they cost money. So since Kirkland isn't writing us that big fat check,
I know this is only because we lost our Kirkland sponsorship. Everybody, Costco never filled out that check.
Yeah, so we went ahead and started this Patreon. There's 4 different levels. 2 of them are for listeners, and 2 of them are for show sponsors. And we think that there's pretty good value there, and we get pretty good listenership all over the place. And for our listeners, there's definitely some perks that you will get out of it. It can be as cheap as $5 a month. It's really super inexpensive, and really what it does again is helps us offset the cost. And the goal is, if there's a surplus of money after we've offset all of our costs, is to put that really into advertising and sponsorship of the show, so that we can push it out even further, and then it will help us with other little ventures that we're doing. One of the things I was thinking of, there's ways that we can leverage this to help with our Bikes for Kids Foundation. So it's really something that people have asked us before. Well, how can we help? What can we do? And we've never really truly put anything together for sponsors to come in and support the show. So there's a $5 option, and there's a $20 option for our listeners, and then for sponsors, right now it's listed, and we're going to change this eventually, but just for starters, it's $100 a month for people to help us out. So I know that it's a kind of a weird thing for me to ask people for money, but it's just a way that you can help support us and the show, and to kind of make this a little bit more of a broad reach for everybody. So we will post that up on social media. Don't feel obligated, especially right now in this day and age. I know that there's people that are out of work, and they're really having a hard go of it, and we definitely don't want to put anybody like that in a position where they're taking their funds and putting it towards us. I just wouldn't feel comfortable doing that. But anyway, I'll stop babbling on here. We've got Patreon now. We'll post it up on Facebook, and if you want to support the show, we would absolutely positively be indebted to you and thankful for your support. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Sweet. All right, we will be back doing this probably again next week. Evan and I are
probably quarantine style,
a full 6 feet apart, and now we're going to have Lance and Matt calling in until
6,000 feet apart.
This whole thing blows over. So we hope everybody out there is making the best of this, and hope everybody's keeping themselves sane. I know that this is tough for all of us, so hopefully this little show will help you pass an hour and a half of time. Thank you for listening. Have a great week. We'll see you next one. Bye for now.